Okay. Day four. This week has flown by. I feel like this whole year has flown by. When we turned the calendar and it was December 1st, I was like, holy shit, it's December 1st. So it is day 4 of our Shameless self-care challenge. Tomorrow is the last day, and time does fly when you're having fun. This week has been incredible, truly. It's been a pleasure and a joy to share all of this with you, and to just be me and to share so authentically and fully and freely. All of this, everything that I share and that I live, is born out of my own felt experiences in this life. So it is truly humbling to be received. Hey Terry, I'm so glad you can spend a few minutes live before you head off to your meeting. Mwah. Yeah, so it is truly humbling to be received and to see the response after that, to really get to then know you guys and see you guys. And thank you so much for participating and for sharing your insights, for sharing your experiences, and ultimately just for showing up for yourself. I feel like if all of us did that just a little bit more, this would be such a fabulous world. That's the kind of world I want to live in, where we're all spending some intentional time showing up for ourselves, learning about ourselves, getting out of these habitual reactive ways of living that were just kind of modeled to us or handed down to us or whatever the case may be, and to really consciously and from an empowered place choose how we want to show up and how we're spending our time. So thank you so much for spending this week with me and for sharing your insights. We have done a lot this week, right? And I'm sure many of you were like, oh, a little self-care challenge. We're going to talk about, food and getting massages and things like that. And these are all fantastic. And if they're part of your resource kit, that's beautiful. I hope you have a resource kit, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. Am I still live? I'm getting a weird little thing. Terry, if you're still here, Anya's here. If you could just give me a little thumbs up or a little something, because it's telling me I got low network connection. I don't know what that means. I don't want to be talking to no one. I think I am talking to no one. No. Okay. Well, I will keep going. I don't know. Damn it. Okay. I think I am still here. Connection available. Okay. So hopefully you weren't just watching me stare at my phone while it sorted itself out. Hi Claire, hi Kath. Okay, so back to where I was. Just kind of recapping this week. Thanking you all so much for being here. We have done a lot. And right, so for those of you who may have joined thinking, self-care challenge, we're just gonna talk about various self-care activities. It's quite more than that, right? Because kind of succumbing to hyperactivity or, putting more things on our to-do list, that are under the guise of self-care, is really just us ignoring the ways in which we are bypassing our true needs. So that is my intention for this week, and I think you all have kind of caught on to that, especially those that are still around, really unraveling the ways that we are blocking ourselves from receiving our own medicine. So we identified our why, what does self-care actually mean to us, and what do we really need from it? Why are we wanting this thing that we want? And I really invite you, all of these tactics, all of these things that we've been discussing all week, I invite you to apply them to everything in your life. Why am I thinking the way that I'm thinking right now? Why? Damn it, it's doing it again. I don't know what this means. Okay. All right, technology. Mercury's not in retrograde anymore. It shouldn't be giving me problems. So, all right. We've had a great week. I highly invite you to revisit the videos if you've missed them, and the prompts were above each of them. Kind of a little synopsis of the lesson that I shared and the prompts and the practices for each week. So, it's been rich. It's been super rich. It's been beautiful. And we've looked at that why. We've gone over boundaries and reshifting our relationship with boundaries and how they can be these fluid things, how they exist inside of us and outside of us, how there can be healthy, supportive ones and kind of unhealthy ones that are, again, under the guise of like this boundary that's protecting you. And really, it's like, is it really protecting you, or is it there to block yourself from yourself if it's an internal one, or to block you from receiving the goodness of the outside world? So again, thinking about these things and the purpose behind all of this was to get to why and how we're stagnant or inconsistent or sabotaging or whatever our pattern is in our self-care practices. And then obviously in our lives as well, because the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. We also discussed, yesterday was just awesome, discussing radical self-responsibility and really owning and recognizing our power as creators of our experiences, of our lives. And discipline. And again, creating a new relationship with discipline, having discipline be a very loving thing. It might not feel good all the time, but having it be a loving thing, not the way that we've thought about it, not using it as a way of punishment only, but as a way to give us that container, that structure, to give us that inner loving parent, that Saturn, if you're into astrology, that very loving, at times grinding though, way of getting us to where we need to go. So yesterday was just awesome. Thank you. So today, it's on to self-love and forgiveness. Shameless self-love and forgiveness. To love ourselves without the shame that we carry that blocks that flow of love. And ultimately blocks our ability to care for ourselves fully. So shame, resentment, blame, old traumas and the ways in which they show up. So it can show up like anger, it can show up, anger and fear are typically our go-tos, because those are a little bit easier and more socially acceptable feelings to emote than some of the more tender feelings that are just underneath the anger and the fear. So these things that show up, they all clog the heart. They all signify that there is stagnation and energetic constipation, if you will, in our heart. And our heart is our place truly of integration. So if you are like, what the frick are you talking about? Or if you're as kind of out there as I am, I'll break it down real quick. So we can think of this heart space. It is our integration point. Our lower parts, our lower 3 chakras, if you will, our lower, more base human parts, and then our upper, more ethereal, airy, spiritually inclined parts, all come together in the heart. So this is where they come together, they swirly-whirly around and recirculate, and we get to be this meeting point where earth and spirit have come together to make love, right? We're a little bit human, we're a little bit spirit, a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, and we're us, just dancing and having a good old time on this floating rock in the great unknown, right? So, bringing it back down to earth. When we are clogged, when we have things that we have not dealt with, when we have old emotions that are stuck that we haven't processed, we haven't fully digested. We are energetically constipated. There's no room to receive. There's frozenness. It's a freeze state. And receiving, even from ourselves, can feel impossible, and it can also feel scary because it's like a deer in headlights energy when we have this unprocessed stuff and when we've been through things. And this feels important to come up right now. A lot of us will belittle our own experiences because they're not as bad as somebody else's, and we'll do that comparison thing. And again, that's just another mechanism of bypassing your own feelings and your own pain and trying to justify or whatever the case is. And the truth is, it's all relative. It's all part of it. And the worst, most painful thing that you've known is the worst, most painful thing that you've known. Comparing belly aches and comparing yourself to this story over here or this or that, or that whole thing about first world problems. Why are we complaining about anything when we have running water? That thinking can be helpful and supportive to shift us back into a place of gratitude at times, yes. And pain is pain and trauma is trauma. It is literally defined as something that has shaken your worldview and created a perceived lack of instability and a feeling of unsafety. That's not a word. Lack of safety, instability in your life and in your system. So it's here, it's real, and it's living inside of you. When we go through something, anything, if it's as small as almost getting in a car accident, or it's as real as, and again, I don't want to quantify these things, but something more severe than that, maybe actually getting in a car accident, or, just something very, very painful, very traumatic, it lives in your body. It changes you on a cellular level. There is a cellular physiological response, and that lives and kind of puts you in this frozen state if it's not dealt with, if it's not allowed to move and to go. That's part of the reason, and I love watching my animals. They're such good teachers. Whenever, my dog will, very rarely, he'll go to jump up on the couch and maybe he won't make it. And as soon as he does, he shakes it off and he keeps going. That's why animals shake. They just letting that energy go, letting it continue to flow, because otherwise it will stagnate. And we live in a culture and a society where that's kind of the norm, and that's what's celebrated, right? Keeping it all together, holding it all in, holding it together, and all these other various cliches. And that holding it together is the reason why so many people in the West, well, not the reason, it's one of many. I was going to say we can look at other lifestyle factors, but it's a main reason why there are such high instances of disease and dysfunction, and certainly mental and emotional health disorders and physical disease. These things can show up as thyroid disorders in women, especially hypothyroid. That is such a ridiculously highly occurring disorder. It can show up as heart disease, digestive issues. So all of these things are living in us, and they're blocking the flow of receiving the goodness and the joy of life. And the beautiful part, this is very true. Like I'm so true. And it's a relatively not a new knowing, because I think we can cognitively, intellectually know something, right? We can intellectualize things all day long. But to have that embodied awareness is what really makes it like, okay, it's in me. It's mine now. It's my experience. It's not just something that I have thought of or, received this download about or whatever. It's like, no, it's actually here in my body, because this is your translator and your little antenna, your vessel while you're here on this earth. The depth to which, let me start over. the depth of the pain and the trauma and the suffering and the sorrow and all of these other hardships. And again, without like comparing or like, well, mine's not that bad compared to hers. No, the depth of what you've known. So the depth of this darkness that you have experienced is literally the depth to which you have the possibility to experience its exact opposite. Like, think about that. And that, in and of itself, even though its exact opposite is all the things that we claim that we want, right? Like joy and ease and flow and grace and all these beautiful, lofty ideals. If we think about like the depth of the sorrow that we've known, and then we're like, holy shit, you mean I could actually receive like the other side? So it's equally as potent and profound and deep, but it's the inverse of that. Like, I think I would literally explode, right? If we think about that. And it is almost like exploding, but in the best possible way. And that to me is what true self-love and forgiveness feel like. And it's possible, and it's there. And we can't find that fluid and consistent self-care without the love. And we can't find the love without the forgiveness. So when we look at the things that we are holding on to, and this goes back again a lot to yesterday, taking responsibility. I talked a lot about succumbing to the victim, right? I put myself out there like, hi, I'm Devon, and I used to be very good at succumbing to the victim. So good. Oof. I could put on a good little victim show. Oof. Yes. We talked about, the ways that the victim can show up and taking responsibility for our experience. And so the next part of that is looking at these places that we are blocked. Where are you energetically constipated? And what are you holding on to out of blame or spite or resentment or some type of righteous indignation or, you know, this injustice that you feel like if you were to let it go, it would make it okay. That was kind of my command statement as well, is like, well, if I let all of this go, if I forgive this, then it somehow makes it okay. And holding on to the yuck is like paying homage to this wound and this wounded little girl. And that's actually not the case, because that's blocking everything. We don't get to pick and choose what stays in and what stays out. We think we do. And we're really good at compartmentalizing. And we're really good at tricking ourselves and telling ourselves that, like, oh, I'm not going to look at the bad stuff or the shadow stuff, and I'm going to keep out this stuff, and then I'll let the good, like, no, it doesn't really work that way, because that duality, that way of thinking where this is good and that's bad, that's just like made up bullshit. It is. The joy and the grief are all here, and they're the same two sides of the same coin. They literally, sun and moon, like, they just go together, and it's this constant, continual dance. It's this spiral dance of life. So I invite you and like talk to me. Claire, I see you, baby. I will get to your comments in 1 second. And Kath is here. Sweet. So yeah, keep them coming. Talk to me. This particular topic has been something that I've really been diving into, I mean, for years, but it really has accelerated since my mother's passing. And any of you guys that have followed me and listened to the podcast or read my blog or anything like that know that I've talked a lot about her and my childhood and her drug and alcohol problems, and then my own alcohol problems and the dysfunctionality of so much of my early life. And losing her was truly the catalyst. It was, I'd already been on this trajectory, and then losing her was really the catalyst to have more of these, that distinction I made between we can intellectually know something and then have these embodied cognitions where it's mine now. It lives in my body. I feel it. And we all have had that, right? It'll show up as an intuitive knowing or as a like, I've had clients say it's like a lightning, being struck by lightning. It's like, holy shit, okay. Like, yes, this is living in my body. I've got this. But this is truly, it's indescribable. This is the thing that we are all striving towards. This integrated way of living where there is no cloggedness, right? There's like the hose, a garden hose of our vital life force and of our life and of giving and receiving and these things, and it can get kinked, right? You know, when you're out watering your plants and you might bend the hose in half so it stops the water while you walk over to the next area. It's like living like that. And then when you start to gently let the hose back out, like the water starts to flow again, and it's just like, okay, I'm alive. Claire, holding it together. Yes, emotionally closed. So hard to find a release without reliving awful trauma. I'm too scared if I'm honest. Yeah. And yes, that is real. And when we start to gently open that box, it can be ugly, right? I've had some, I call them my like exorcisms. I've had some very, all sorts of fluid, snots and tears and screams rolling, on the floor, just letting this out. And I invite you to consider, and I'm not belittling that fear at all, so please don't take it that way. I invite you to consider that all of this now is just energy living in your body. You are safe in your body. You are safe in this moment. You are safe. The energetic imprint, the cells, the memory of these traumas is lodged. It's stuck. But you are safe. So that thing is not here. And again, this is something to get support with. I am not telling you, what to do or any of these things. I'm simply inviting us all to think about these things in a different way. And that's part of that empowerment piece. And part of that loving responsibility piece. And also knowing like when to ask for support as well. That CDE thing is all ties together. So just in getting us to see that it's energy now. It's not that event or that person or whatever the thing was. We're safe. I found I have forgiven who hurt, but it seems to be with me still. Yeah, it still lives in the body. It's still here. And that's when we can turn to practices, so many beautiful practices to support us. And, expressive arts therapy and embodiment practices have been monumental for me. And I work a lot with those with my clients as well as energy healing. I love my plant medicines and my flower essences, all types of plant medicines, whether in their physical form as herbs or in their slightly more subtle form in their oil form, and then in their super subtle form when we're working just with our energy and their energy meeting on a soul to soul level. That's when we turn to flower essences. Journaling, crying, screaming is fantastic. Into a pillow, so your neighbors, won't call the police if you happen to have neighbors that are close by that could hear you if you screamed. Beautiful practices, really, to just anything that gets that energy moving. And trauma, depression, sorrow, sadness, these are very like lethargic, frozen emotions because they're born out of a state of protection. And ultimately it's perpetuating that clog that's stopping that flow of love, and then we can't receive it even from ourselves. And we can't consistently care for something that we don't truly love. right? So that's why it's so many of us have a hard time, and we'll do that start-stop thing. We're like, oh, I'm good right now. Good. Judging our morality based on how many times we went to yoga that week or how many green drinks we had. But we will fall into that thing where we're turning to the outside, looking to the outside for validation or for fixing and things to cross off our list that are really just distracting us. And then we don't consistently stick with them because they're not what we really need. They're not the true secret sauce underneath it all. You know, like getting your nails done isn't what you actually need. Adding more self-care things to your list that's to cross off, that just makes you feel good for a second. It's like that quick hit, right? Quick hit to make you feel good, but that's not the thing. It's not the thing. And Kath, I have been swept up in a tsunami of pain, hurt, and uncertainty. I closed myself off and bottled things up, and this has manifested in physical and emotional pain. It's taken some time, and I am not completely free of it, but I am definitely moving forward and back into the light. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And the truth is, I don't think it's never something that we're going to be done with or totally move away from. And I don't know that I want to be totally away from that, because those past events and the energy and the teachings from them make us who we are today. It's up to us again. After the event's over, we just have the energy of the event. The event's done. We're safe. It's done. It stopped. You know, as you said, the storm has passed. We're safe now. So now we're just left with the energy of it. And being the creators that we are, we get to transmute this energy into something else. So it doesn't have to exist as pain or freeze or these other things. We get to use it and shape it and mold it and turn it into something else. Turn it into a gift. Turn it into purpose and joy and really work with it and make it ours. And it's such a fucking empowering, beautiful experience. And Kath goes to the beach and screams out to the sea. Yes, I love that. I grew up in Southern California and basically on the beach, and that I lived there. I miss it dearly. Such a beautiful practice. And Devashri can relate so much to those lethargic states of sadness and depression. And Claire, I needed to be here to listen to you. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. You're very welcome. Yeah. Okay, so in closing, I want to share, before my phone kicks me off, I need to take that social media limit off. I want to share, there are journal prompts above just to kind of think about it, or there will be. They're not there right now. They will be when I get off of here. This heart tapping exercise. Okay, this is a good one. So you're going to sit comfortably and take the heel of your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed or left-handed, I'm right-handed. Take the heel of your dominant hand and find that center of your chest, right between your, it's like upper breast area. It'll be like a little flat part of the bone, your breastbone. And you're gonna inhale and exhale. So I'm not like beating myself up, okay? But there's a good amount of force. And you're gonna keep that pounding going as you inhale through the nose. And audibly, that audible sigh and letting it fall out and really just get into it. Let that go. And what you're doing is shaking up, letting some of that energy start to flow. And don't be surprised if some tears come, if some anger comes, whatever comes, allow it. You're safe. Let it flow and just keep going. I mean, at least 3 minutes-ish, but intuitively follow what you need. And really let yourself get into, like, this is not one of those, stay perfectly straight like a yogi. Let yourself, like, fall, bend over, and get into kind of a pulsation with it. This is kind of awkward to do on a screen. Stepping out of my comfort zone. Woohoo! So, play with that. And Alicia, my kids think this one is hysterical and fun. Good. I'm glad they like it. And it's a good one. I know, I've shown this one to you too. I'm such a fan of these. So play with that and let me know what happens. I feel like that song, take, the lime and the coconut and call me in the morning. This is a good one. Enter into it with a very open mind and with the intention of unkinking that hose a little bit letting that life force flow. And yeah, let me know how it goes. And I'll be back tomorrow. And today, really just focusing on what is blocking me from receiving love from myself first and foremost. It needs to come from right here. So where am I not allowing myself to receive? And know that the depth, like I said, this is so important, the depth to which you have felt this pain, you have like the deeper the pain has been, the deeper you can actually access that love and joy. Like, yes. So know that and trust that and pound away. All right? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Mwah! Love you.